Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and it's Friday, our favorite day of the week, where we get to talk about the props in the NFL. And of course, who better to talk about those props with than my good friend Andrew Erickson, the prop prophet. You know, he's rocking the old school 90s flannel throwback, which brings me back to a simpler time in my high school days of the grunge era. And of course, another fresh-faced lad here, one of my favorite people in the fantasy space, who's now moved over to the betting space and is crushing it. Alex Caruso. You can follow him over on X, or whatever the hell it is today, over there at Alex Caruso. Funny enough, it's amazing you were able to get that. I couldn't get Joe Pisapia, but you could get Alex Caruso. I don't know how that happened, but Alex, you've got a lot of stuff going on. You've got a newsletter too going out there for props. So talk to the people about what you got going on, because it's exciting.
Yeah, it's a newsletter called The Daily Props. The first thing you look up if you look on Google. It is a player prop newsletter. I send out props 7 days a week from the NFL, NBA, whatever's going on that day, trying to give people 4 or 5 props every single day that they can tail or fade, whatever they want, but it's coming out each and every single day.
There you go. Andrew Erickson, you produce things every single day, right? You do something every single day.
Yeah, I do.
All right, I just want to make sure. I'm just checking up on the workload, because if you're not, I'm going to give you some more assignments, get you some more things to do. By the way, everybody, one thing for you to do every time you watch the show, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel of Betting Pros. Make sure you drop the comment below, because if you do, you could win a 1-year free premium upgrade to Betting Pros right now. Just ring that bell till it goes ding, so you know every time a piece of content drops here on the channel. We got live streams. Speaking of, last night, Bogman 4 of 5 on his props in our Thursday Night Football live stream. I nailed the game. It was a winning bonanza. That's why you subscribe. That's why you ring the bell for notifications. But you do all that and you comment below in this video, you just might win a 1-year free premium upgrade to Betting Pros. And don't forget, if you haven't downloaded Betting Pros app yet, again, I wonder what you're doing with your life and the choices you're making, but you might as well do it, because you're also getting 3 free days on iOS of Betting Pros Premium when you do. And we got all sorts of sports going on right now. NBA, NFL, NHL, you name it, you can bet on it right now. So go check it out. See the greatest betting tools in the history of the universe and start betting smarter, not harder. Alex Caruso, you're our guest today on the program, so you get to go first when we talk about props for Week 9 in the NFL. What do you have for the people?
I think the first prop has to be Gus Edwards, under 52.5 rushing yards. He's coming off arguably the best game of his career last week against the Swiss cheese run defense and the Cardinals. This week, he's playing the Seattle Seahawks, who have the toughest run defense in the NFL by yards per carry. I think Seattle's much more likely to get up on them early, and that would take a lot of rushing attempts away from Gus Edwards. I'm all for fading players coming off career games. I think Gus Edwards is definitely that spot this week.
All right, so Gus Edwards, the first one. Don't chase the 3 touchdowns. That's what Erickson keeps telling me. I did start Gus Edwards in a league last week, and it did work out. So I'm feeling good about that. But I don't feel great about week to week. I can honestly tell you that.
DeAndre Hopkins didn't have a great game, and he scored 3 touchdowns. So the process so far is pretty good.
Process. All right, Erickson, let's get back to your process for Week 9 and the props. What do you have going on for Week 9?
I'm going to Jonathan Taylor, over 13.5 carries. So with Taylor, I really think you can bet his rushing props, his rushing attempts props. I like the overs across the board here. I mean, look, it's 65.5 rushing yards, 13.5 carries. Like, this is Jonathan Taylor. This is the guy that was a 101 in fantasy football drafts just last year. And now he's fully healthy. He's getting ramped up. And last week's usage was super bizarre. Like, he had 12 carries for almost 100 yards in the first half, and he had 1 carry in the second half altogether. But Shane Steichen said after the games, they were down by a lot. They were down by 2 touchdowns, so they didn't really feel the need to use Jonathan Taylor because they were losing by so much. So they didn't use him, and they just kind of had him out there running routes but not really carrying the football. They're playing the Panthers this week. The Panthers have the number 1 defense in terms of rushing play rate faced. Teams know they can run the football on the Panthers. That's what teams do. They run the football on the Panthers. They're going to feed Jonathan Taylor 15 carries in the first half. So I think this number is just way too low. And Joe, it's been a while since we hit one of these, but it smells like a ladder bet to me for Jonathan Taylor when it comes to his rushing yards. So I like it a lot. The carries, the yards, it's a great matchup. I think JT's going to have a monster game against the Panthers.
Well, we are 50% so far this NFL season with that. The Devon Achane one was glorious. Oh, we made so much money. We were a little bit more skeptical, but optimistic about the Christian Watson one a few weeks ago, and that, of course, did not come to fruition in Denver.
Well, we need running backs, right? We need running backs, not receivers.
We do. I mean, the thing with Watson was he didn't have to catch more than 3 passes to make that work. Maybe one would have been nice. But I digress. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter at all. All right, let's get back to Alex Caruso here. Give us another thing you're in on for week 2 in the props department, Caruso, for week 9.
I mean, how can you not bet A.J. Brown over 82.5 receiving yards right now? He's hit 125 or more in 6 straight games, but you can't just bet it because of that. The Cowboys run the second highest rate of man coverage in the NFL, and A.J. Brown, and efficiency-wise, is the best wide receiver in NFL history when playing against man coverage. He's efficient. Last year when the Cowboys played against the Eagles, they ran a ton of man coverage. We're going to see similar looks this week. He's much better than Devontae Smith is, and I think that over 82.5, you have to keep playing that until he goes under at this point.
Well, Erickson spent all week with me, which is bad news for him. And he knows that I'm very much in on the Eagles side of this game. So I'm feeling that. I'm right there with you. Give me all the A.J. Brown. Let's go. Give me the Eagles to smash the Cowboys.
They should just put the line at 125 yards and just see what people do with it.
I would still bet the under because if it was 125, I bet the under.
Obviously, but it's like he goes over again. It's like,
but here's the thing: if you bet it and you kind of feel, unsafe about it. That's the thing. I mean, he's having such a great season.
I mean, that's the reason not to bet is it's going to have to stop eventually. Well, it's like you could have been saying that and you could have been just not making money. I mean, that's my problem. Like, I'm afraid to bet it because I'm like, it's going to end eventually. And so far it hasn't. So,
all right, you've got something in this game too on the other side of it. And I like the thought process because it also aligns with my take on the Eagles-Cowboys game, which is Dak Prescott and his completions number. So let's talk about that, Andrew.
Yeah, so Dak Prescott over 22.5 completions because, I mean, the game script for this game, it looks like to me, it's like Dallas is going to have to throw the ball a ton. Like, they can't run the football, and they showed us last week that they would be willing to kind of abandon the run game. They were up a massive amount against the Rams, and they were still throwing the ball a ton. Like, Dak Prescott had 17 completions in the first half alone. He threw for 225 yards in the first half alone. So, when you look at this Eagles defense, what have the Commanders done, and what have they shown us? How do you attack this Eagles defense? You throw the ball on first down. Like, that's all they did. They didn't even use their running backs whatsoever. So the fact of the matter is the Cowboys have struggled to kind of run the ball with Tony Pollard, especially in tougher matchups. Can't run on the Eagles. So Dallas is going to have to dial up and throw. And ultimately, if they win the game, it's going to be if, does Dak throw 3 interceptions or does he throw 3 touchdowns? I think that will obviously, determine the outcome of the game. But for props purposes, I think Dak's going to throw the ball a ton. I think he's going to get a lot of completions because the Eagles just face so many pass attempts. So I think this is a good opportunity. You could stack it up with the A.J. Brown prop as well.
I'm going to submit my answer in a sealed envelope to that question you asked, and I'll open it up on Sunday night to see if I was correct or not for the Dak Prescott touchdowns or interceptions that you threw out there. Let's get back to you here, Alex Caruso. Let's talk about a running back that you have lined up here for week 9, and that running back is in Tampa Bay and on the road. So what are your thoughts here about Rachaad White this week?
Yeah, I think Rachaad White is a perfect play. I mean, for this week, especially with how the Bucs have changed their offense around. I mean, the Rachaad White has 6 and 7 catches over the last week, but the most important part is the fact that Todd Bowles in his press conference this week said that they want to continue to get Rachaad White the ball more in space, and they understand the running game has been inefficient, and they want to give him as many opportunities as possible in space, which says to me that this offense that we've seen the last 2 weeks where they get him involved in the passing game is going to continue. And they want to get him more of those short area targets, which means receptions. And I think that 4.0 line, there's a good chance of a push. I just don't think it's likely that he's going to be under 3 after how they've changed their offense over the last couple of weeks. I cannot get enough of Rachaad White anytime, any day.
All right. Well, I can always get enough of Rachaad White. Erickson knows I'm not a fan. But in terms of this prop.
Dude, he's fine.
He's fine.
So fine.
He's
not like
the
a world beater, but he's
brand.
fine. He's not a bust. He's not a bust.
Not a bust. He is store brand vanilla ice cream. But not like even the good store. It's like the lower rung grocery store too. Where it's like, whatever, it's ice cream. I'm hungry. I want ice cream. I want something sweet. But the vanilla is like, the taste isn't great. It's a little like, there's nothing in it. And you're not allowed to put any toppings on it. There's no toppings. But this number here, you found the one thing you could interest me when it comes to Rachaad White. Let's get back over to you for another running back. Let's continue on this running back path here, Andrew Erickson. I can't believe this number again. I went on a rant 2 weeks ago when this number was 4.5. You're telling me it's still 4.5. I can't fathom this in my brain. You want to talk about ladder bet opportunities? This is the one. This is the ladder bet opportunity of a lifetime. Every single week, Alvin Kamara gets fed the football in the passing game, and this number's still floating at 4.5 2 weeks later. I don't understand it, Erickson.
Yeah. So yeah, Alvin Kamara, like you said, over 4.5 receptions. The only reason I would get away from the latter bet potential would be game script. They are playing the Bears, so if they're like winning, they don't necessarily need to throw the ball a ton. So that would be my one concern about the latter bet. But just looking at the Bears defense as a whole, like this Bears defense bleeds points, receptions to running backs in the passing game. Like that's what their defense is like based around. Like Austin Eckler 2 weeks ago, like not involved in the passing game whatsoever, plays the Bears. Oh, 8 catches. Like it's automatic when you look at the Bears. And this number, Joe, this morning, actually, when I looked at it, was actually at plus money. You could get Alvin Kamara over 4.5 receptions.
Why am I talking
money. I was
to
like,
you?
all right, I got to bet this right now. And then I checked it later. And of course, the plus money's gone.
Oh,
but
okay.
still, you still want to get the over here, just because of how bad the Bears have done. Like, so looking at what they've done, the Bears, third receptions, third targets, first in receiving yards allowed to running backs this season. And Alvin Kamara is obviously heavily involved in the passing game. He has 23 catches over his last 3 games. And Derek Carr, if he doesn't, find the will to throw it deep to Shaheed or Chris Olave, he's like, oh, check down automatically to Alvin Kamara. So I think this one is a stone cold lock.
Yeah, 4.5. Yes, please. It's minus 120 right now on FanDuel. It's just crazy. And again, don't necessarily go for the yards. Like the receptions is what you want, because 4.5 is just a simple crush number. Like this is your base bet. And it's until they adjust, like even if it's wrong, the process is good. I don't care until Vegas adjusts this number here. It's just hammer all day long when it comes to this Alvin Kamara 4.5. It's ridiculous. Alex Caruso, you're not ridiculous. You're a very, very sound guy, so you're a younger guy, but you got a good head about you. So let's make another good bet here. Now you're gonna have to sell me on this one here a little bit, because my faith in Bears quarterbacks, even named Justin Fields, is shaky at times at best. So talk to me about your angle in this one for the Bears quarterback situation this week in week 9.
Yeah, I think Tyson Bagent's not a fun prop to play, but I think that's why, similar to Alvin Kamara, the books just have not adjusted yet. I mean, in his 2 games so far, he threw for 29 and 37 pass attempts. I'm taking the over here on 29.5. That 29 came in a massive blowout against the Raiders where they were up, but they've shown that they want to throw the ball. And the Saints have one of the tougher run defenses in the league. Where people have had success against them is in the passing game specifically. The Saints have also allowed top 5 in the most opponent plays run, which means that teams are playing a lot more against the Saints in terms of total plays than almost any other team. I think that Tyson Bagent, they're going to have to keep throwing the ball. They've shown more trust in him from week 1 to week 2, and he's been pretty good, I think, overall. I think that he's going to find a way to soar over this line once again.
All right, so Bagent on the over for pass attempts. I did not have that on my bingo card, but I like the thought process. I like where your head's at. All right, let's get to another guy here, another Bear. I can't believe we have 2 Bears back-to-back here on this. You guys are killing me. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about more D'Onta Foreman. Erickson, you were jumping off that train last week, but now you're back on it. But why?
I mean, I'm back in the under on D'Onta Foreman. I'm going to keep betting against him.
I see.
That's
okay.
the play here.
Fair enough, my friend.
So D'Onta Foreman under 10.5 rushing attempts. So this is kind of playing into how Caruso's looking at the game, where it's like, all right, they're going to be throwing a lot. Tyson Bagent's going to be throwing over 29.5 times. If that happens, then chances are D'Onta Foreman's not running the ball up and down against the Saints' run defense. So I don't even know if he's going to start this game. Like the Bears have committed to like this 3-headed backfield between Roschon Johnson, Darrington Evans, and D'Onta Foreman. And so Foreman started last week, got the most carries last week, but does that change? Like, why can't Roschon see more carries than D'Onta Foreman? Like in the first half, it was 5 carries for Foreman, 4 carries for Roschon, 1 carry for Darrington Evans, and Evans had more carries in the second half altogether. So 3-headed backfield. It's a bad matchup overall where you can't really see them, let's establish the run here. And like Caruso said, like they have shown let's throw the ball. Like, let's see what we have in Badge. Like, what's the point of using him if they're just going to hand the ball off when they're not going to get any yards? Like, that seems so pointless to me. So I'm going to take the under here on D'Onta Foreman.
Okay, the under on Foreman. You've got it. Let's go back to a guy who was just named the starter just minutes before the show in the backfield in Carolina. So I don't know how that's going to adjust these numbers particularly, but you're going to this number on this next running back on the receiving end. So it might not adjust too much. So let's talk about him. Caruso, what do you have next for everybody here for week 9?
I have to be taking Chuba Hubbard over 13.5 receiving yards against the Colts. I mean, 2 of the last 3 running backs, they've let a running back go over 3 straight games. One of them was Alvin Kamara. Okay, Alvin Kamara goes over that line versus anybody. But they let Jerome Ford and Travis Etienne go over that in just about 40% of the routes for both of them. And Chuba Hubbard has been by far the clear and away number one running back for the Panthers now that they just are seemingly doing away with Miles Sanders. I think that continues this week. The Colts have been the second worst team against running backs in general over the last couple of weeks. They've continued to get worse in the receiving game. And that 13.5 receiving line is just so low for a guy that's probably going to see 70% of the snaps this week against a team that's giving up a lot to pass catching running backs. I'm all in on Chuba Hubbard.
All in on Chuba Hubbard. You and me both. I like this one a lot. We were just talking about this, I feel like yesterday, Erickson, I think was on that show where I said, it's time to just give the backfield to Chuba Hubbard. And I'm so glad that they were listening to us. And I know they're fans of the show. I know they are. I know they're listening to us when we talk all the time. But, I mean, it just felt like this was the right way to go. This was the right thing to do. Get a little bit more physical up front. Run the football at Chuba Hubbard. Miles Sanders not that guy. It was on yesterday's show, right? It was the Thursday show. We were having this very discussion, and there you go. Boom. A day later, things happen. We're ahead of the curve. That's why you always subscribe. You should follow us, too, at bettingpros.com/Joe/Erickson. And you should also join our NFL contest if you haven't, too. So as we're talking about these props, as we're talking about the game picks like on yesterday's show, make them count. Get something out of your picks. Even if wagering is not legal in your state, you can still join our NFL contest. Download the Betting Pros app, go to the community tab, go to NFL contest. You can join or go to bettingpros.com/NFL contest. We're giving away a Jackson Smith and Jigba jersey for the winner on the year, whoever has the best picks. But we're also doing weekly prizes, monthly prizes. We're doing gift cards to our FP, our BP shops. We're also doing 1 year free premium upgrades to Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. So lots of fun things, free stuff. Make 5 picks a week. That's all you got to do to be eligible. So join it today at bettingpros.com/NFL contest. All right. We're going to have some anytime touchdown calls coming up in a second. Before we do, Andrew Erickson, let's get to another one of your picks for week 9.
Alec Pierce under 2.5 receptions. So for those that are not familiar, Alec Pierce is a wide receiver on the Indianapolis Colts. He does a lot of cardio. Runs a lot of routes, plays a lot of snaps. Doesn't catch the ball a ton, but over the last 3 weeks, he has 3 catches in every single game. His line is set at 2.5 receptions. I don't think he's going to keep up the streak, to be totally honest, because he has an 11% target share, so he's clearly behind Pittman and Josh Downs in terms of seeing targets. And when he does see targets, they are of the downfield variety. So not super high probability of him coming down with them. The last couple of weeks he has. Like, he's been able to haul in some of these deeper throws from Gardner Minshew. I don't want to bet on that happening 4 weeks in a row. Like, it's simply that, looking at the projections, he's projected for 2 receptions, not 2.5. So when it comes to these boom or bust receivers that are seeing targets down the field, it's much more likely than not they're going to disappoint than deliver for you. So I know he's riding a streak. I'm going to go against it here and take the under on his receptions prop because, hey, unders happen all the time. And usually they happen with receivers that are used down the field. So under on Alec Pierce, 2.5 receptions.
Okay, the under on Alec Pierce, again, makes sense. Doing a lot of cardio. I heard you got to scale back the cardio, though. Like, you shouldn't do too much because that's no good for you either. Life's a balance, Erickson. Life is a balance. That's what I've been told. Let's get to some anytime touchdown calls. Caruso, we're going to go back to the Eagles-Dallas game for yours. What do you have?
I think we have to go with the most automatic touchdown call of this entire week in CeeDee Lamb. I mean, the Eagles have given up the second most receiving touchdowns to wide receivers this year behind only the Washington Commanders. So they have been as bad can get. CeeDee Lamb is coming off a 2-touchdown game last week, but the part I love is the fact that he has 21 targets over the last 2 weeks. He is the clear focal point of this Cowboys offense at this point in the season. This is a perfect matchup to continue that streak going. I'm taking him plus anytime touchdown at plus 125 right now.
It's a great number. I can't believe we're getting even plus number on it, but lock it in now while you can, boys and girls. That's a very good one. I don't know how many touchdowns they're going to get. Wouldn't it be funny if Tony Pollard got one? I wonder what that number is. I have to look at that, see that one is. I mean, it should be 1 million right now. It should be plus 1 million because we can't get a damn touchdown for Tony Pollard no matter how hard we try. Erickson, you've got one that's a little salty here for this week, and it's a Raven, but it's not the Raven everybody might think. Why is it the guy that you chose?
Yeah, so I went with Odell Beckham Jr. plus 420.
He still plays?
Anytime touchdown. Yeah, he does play. Actually,
okay.
They use him a lot in the red zone, actually. He had an end zone target last week, but it was called back because of a pass interference call. So he was visibly upset on the sideline. Look, how many times do we need to see the squeaky wheel from these receivers to realize, like, oh, the next week, what are they going to do? They're going to throw the ball to the guy in the end zone. Like, that's literally what the rhetoric has been about Odell Beckham Jr. He's been coming back from this ankle injury that he suffered back in week 2. He has 5 red zone targets on the year, 0 red zone touchdowns, 0 touchdowns overall. But look, he's going to get fed in the red zone. They talked about it. Lamar Jackson talked about it himself. Lamar Jackson said he's going to catch the ball, so they have to do their best to keep him away from the ball. They're doing a good job of it right now, but he's going to get on the scoreboard. I believe it's happening fast. It's going to come. It's going to happen. This is his quarterback saying this. Of course we're going to bet it. He controls where the ball goes in the red zone. So Odell Beckham Jr. is going to get another red zone target, end zone target this week against the Seahawks. The Ravens have scored in 7 of their have scored first in 7 of their 8 games. So not only is it anytime touchdown for OBJ, it is first touchdown. At 20-1 odds, OBJ finds the end zone. Thank me later. I'll see the tweets now when OBJ scores at the opening kickoff between the Ravens and the Seahawks. Thank you very much.
Last time you threw down this gauntlet, you were right. So I'm a little worried about this. So now I might have to get in on this too. Fantastic stuff. Love it. It's going to be a good time this week. There's no doubt about it. Week 9 in the NFL. Again, you go find our friend Alex Caruso over on X. Go follow him. Go sign up for the daily prop newsletter that's going out there to get all your bets taken care of. Alex, we appreciate you joining us on the program today. Of course, we got the live streams going on. Next week, we've got live streams for Monday Night Football too. We'll be back with the Look Ahead show next week also, but we want you to enjoy your weekend of betting. And don't forget also, make sure you download that Betting Pros app. Don't leave without dropping a comment below and subscribing to the channel here. And if you're just listening to us, go over and subscribe to the YouTube channel anyway, because it's a good time. We're having fun. We're making bets with you. We want you to be a part of our community. So that'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Andrew Erickson and Alex Caruso, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.